Welcome. Good
Welcome,
morning,
welcome,
everybody.
welcome.
Apologies for that.
Welcome to episode 6. Again, we are joined here with Speed Demon and Yakes 87. This is obviously my first one back after the move, so it's a little bit rough and ready around the edges, but we'll be fine.
And I wasn't here last week because I
Yes.
am old now.
You are old now. Trust me. You won't see all the bruising up my arm, but I've got
Shit.
bruises all over on top of bruises, so
Oh.
I get the moving stuff. So
Yeah,
Too strong for your own good.
yeah. So I
no,
am,
he's
I
too,
am, I am
his brain's
here.
stronger than his muscles.
I am here from Bristol Motor Speedway. Had a great week of racing in Bristol, so I thought I'd do the
Still
show
youngins.
from
Shut
Bristol.
up, Kazza. Anyway, so touching on speed, what have you got for us this week, buddy?
So I just want to retouch on the community events first and foremost. Um, so we do know didn't the bus ride say that he had an event coming up?
No,
Is that
he
right?
was trying to plan
No.
it, but it hadn't been
Trying.
finalized
Okay,
yet.
yeah. All right. So the one that we do know about is Banjax is hosting his second Goose Goose Glimesh event
Yes.
in Goose Goose Duck. I know that's very confusing. That is on the 25th. So that is this week coming up, actually.
And there's
Yep.
two more. I don't have. I can't. I'm trying to remember the details, but Miss.
I believe there's 5 more.
Yeah. Well, I know. There's two more next weekend on the same day that Banjax is doing his. There's one by
Oh,
Maskmare. He's doing a charity stream for the Trevor Project, and then Miss Pixels is doing a charity stream as well. But I cannot remember what the name of the charity is, and I feel bad that I can't remember that. But there are
Yes.
multiple events going on next weekend.
Yes, I did
Lots
see
of events.
the tweet for that
Yes.
the other day. And just on that, Maskman has been going through a very heavy mental period right now. Because if you don't know who Maskmare is, they do a lot of videos, around Glimesh, like how tos and
Hmm.
all that sort of stuff. And it felt a little bit down in the dumps like earlier this week. Uh, just felt like it was all for nothing. Just like he wasn't. It was sort of getting underappreciated. Like people were sort of taking and not really appreciating what they were taking.
His videos
yeah.
are awesome, by the way. If
So
you haven't had a chance to check those out.
yeah, I mean, we need people like that out there
Yeah.
to do that sort of stuff. But yeah, that sort of goes on to the whole mental health thing. Like,
Hmm.
it just look out for everyone.
Yeah.
Look out for yourself. If you're a streamer and you're not 100%, take some time off.
Hmm.
The people who watch you will care. Well, some will care, some won't. But that's just how it is. People are just selfish in that regard. So take care of yourself, take care of others, check up on other people too. Like
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
notice that something's just not quite right, you know, hit them up about it. Ask if
Hmm.
they're okay. And
don't grind yourself into the ground. That's
Yeah.
not what
yeah,
streaming's
that,
about.
I know.
That's
that is
definitely not what
purely
Glimesh is about either.
Even myself, outside of injuring my back this past weekend, a couple of days leading up to that, I had kind of just taken like let streaming take kind of a backseat, and even still like this week, like I have not been really active on Discords or anything like that, like any of them this past week. Just kind of getting in and just now that I'm healed, physically healed, like I feel great. Just kind of slowly getting back into that rhythm of popping into streams and streaming myself at regular times and doing that. So it's definitely very important to like if you're feeling overwhelmed or you feel like you just need a break, then take the break. Like there's no shame in saying, "Hey, I can't stream tonight," or "I don't feel like having a webcam on for this stream," or anything like that. If you need to take the break, then take the break. Like no one's gonna fault you for
yeah,
that.
No, absolutely not.
yeah. I mean, I can definitely say that there are times where I've wanted to stream,
Hmm.
but not wanted to have webcam on. And I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah.
There are also a couple of
Yeah.
times where I really wanted to stream, but also not wanted to stream, and then sort of been in that two frames of mind, like,
Hmm.
what do I do? You know, probably the
I
best
think
best situation out of that is to not stream. That way, you're not, risking sort of
if you've got
projecting
any
whatever it is
doubt,
that you're feeling
Hmm.
onto your viewers.
if you've got any doubt about, oh, do I, don't I, just don't do it because you're not going to put out the content.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're
you
better
just
off
give off the
having
wrong
a day
image.
off.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the same with even like Yakes and I specifically with the iRacing. If we're just not feeling it, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth trying to bury yourself in it and,
Yeah.
and give yourself more nightmares and headaches for
Well,
it. Just don't do it, guys.
it's
Take your days off.
Mhm. And it's not just streaming too. It's any kind of game. Like, I've run into burnout with World of Warcraft. I've run into burnout with iRacing. And those are two games that I've played for a very long time. It
Mm.
hasn't been until just recently where I've been fired up. I've been doing racing like all weekend, and I've been streaming it and having a good time. And if I look back, 2 months ago, like I was kind of like, racing, iRacing, I don't know. And it's not that like I wasn't like I didn't have that passion still. It's just that in the moment I wasn't really enjoying it, and I needed to
Yeah.
just kind of step aside and reapproach it. Because that's like a competitive online racer. If you're not at your best, you're not going to perform well, and then not performing well causes you to not feel good, and then it's just this vicious cycle that you just need to pull yourself out of, refocus, reapproach, and go back at it. And it's
Yep.
it's
Totally.
important for not just streaming, but just gaming,
Life.
activities,
It's
life,
life in general.
exactly everything. No matter what you do, if you're starting to feel burnout or just exhaustion or just like feeling like you're losing those passions, sometimes you just need to pull yourself back, take some time, reflect on it, and jump back in with a fresh attitude.
Yeah,
That's it.
because it's just a big domino effect, really. And
Yeah.
if you don't take care of it, it can get out of hand really quickly. And then like depression sets in,
Hmm.
and depression can come in all shapes and sizes. Like you could get like mild depression, you could just go into a complete mental breakdown. Just you just
Let's
need to
not
take
forget the
care of yourself.
anxiety that can come involved in that too.
Yes.
Oh,
Getting
yeah.
anxious about, are they going to come and watch me? All that kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
again, it's something. Again, the three of us here, if you guys definitely need to talk to anyone, please feel free to reach out to any one of us three.
Absolutely. You know,
we've
I know.
we've been through our own stuff.
Yes.
We we
I
go through it just as much as you guys do.
Well, and I'm pretty active on Twitter as well. So I know
Mm,
if anyone ever feels a need to, my DMs on Twitter are always wide open. So if anyone,
Same.
wants to reach out or send me a message or just be like, hey, how you doing? The best way to get a hold of me is more often than not through Twitter. Because I am able to check that more often than I am Discord. So,
Yeah. Well,
we're,
even though
we're
I'm
all
set
here.
to do
So,
not disturb on Disc, even though I'm set to do not disturb, doesn't mean you cannot DM me. Please do. I'd rather spend half an hour talking to you and getting you back in a good space than see random posts out that you're just not doing so well. So
yes.
take the time, reach out to your fellow community, and get yourself sorted out.
Mhm.
Don't feel you're alone in this one.
Yeah,
yeah,
mental health is so important.
It is.
absolutely.
Anyway, what
But
other events have
now,
we got coming up?
now on a completely
Yeah.
different topic. So last week we
What a
covered
segue.
the there are no segues. Last week we covered the PlayStation showcase.
Yes.
So all the announcements that were in there, and the GTA 5 re-announcement of the enhanced edition. So it turns out that everyone was rather upset by that.
I can imagine.
Yeah, there
I know why.
were a lot of people who were not happy with that decision to announce that instead of GTA 6. So currently the GTA 5 expanded and enhanced trailer uh is just abysmal. Like it currently sits at 29,000 likes and 208,000 dislikes.
What a ratio! What a ratio! Love it.
Like
Fantastic
usually
work,
you
Sony.
usually you get your dislikes on your videos. Usually you get your dislikes on your videos, but you know if you've got like say 100,000 likes, you probably get like 10,000 dislikes. It's
Mhm.
like that's sort of what you get. That's just bound to happen. But that is just that is just the complete other way around.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it. I get that people are upset that GTA 6 wasn't announced. I mean, GTA 5's now gone across how many generations of
Too many.
platform now?
I feel like it would have been
Too
better
many.
if they were like, instead of GTA 5, here's an upgraded version of Red Dead 2. Like, I feel like that would be a better use of Rockstar's resources to upgrade and port Red Dead 2 over GTA 5.
But the thing is, there was nothing
It's
wrong
fine.
with Red Dead 2 because
I
Red
know.
Dead 2 was essentially next gen anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
It does run at 4K 60.
But if you're going to sell a PS5 version of a game, you might as well sell the PS5 version of the one that just came out versus the one that's 10 years old.
Yeah,
Sony
exactly.
doesn't care. Like, Sony doesn't care, and Rockstar don't care.
No, they don't.
Like Rockstar.
It's the same
Rockstar
reason.
know
It's the
damn
same
well
reason
that
they're
you're gonna buy
re-releasing
the game
Skyrim again. Oh, look, it's the HD
Yeah.
version of Skyrim. Nobody
But
cares.
look, they're charging more for it now because it's the
Yeah.
10th anniversary or something, or
Well,
20th anniversary.
oh yeah,
or
they're
something.
like, oh, this version has all of our DLC and the graphics are better, so give us more money, even though you already own this game.
The thing is, like, it's technically a different version of the game because the expanded and enhanced edition that's coming out on PS5 and Xbox Series consoles is different to previous generation in
Yeah.
regards to content and different to the PC version.
Yeah.
In regards to content. So
Yeah.
there's extra stuff that they've jammed in there. So naturally, they're going to treat it as a brand new game and just charge whatever
I'm
the fuck they want.
I'm actually more interested in the community Skyblivion project. My brother's been sending me all kinds of information about that. So
You know, the first game Lemmings battle with Microsoft. No, I didn't.
Yes,
So,
I did see that.
Skyblivion?
I saw that the other day.
Yeah, it's basically like a small community that's like rebuilding Elder Scrolls 4, but in the Skyrim engine. So it'll have like Skyrim mechanics, but like it'll be Elder Scrolls 4.
Right.
And it's like available in Microsoft Store. That's funny. I'm in the store and it's not there.
Well, that's going to go down as well as what was that GTA remake that happened, and Take-Two took them down.
Yeah, unfortunately, but like I would much rather see an updated version of Oblivion over an updated version of Skyrim.
I mean, whatever.
I mean,
it's
just my 2 cents.
At what point do we
It's just
stop
Yakes doing
remastering
Yakes
games?
We won't.
No,
And
you won't.
There's a simple reason why you won't. And it's purely because it doesn't matter where you look. Like if you go back to some of the early FPS games, they're all based on the same mechanic: left trigger, right trigger, move. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much you can do with games in general.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where it's hard to be innovative with like Call of Duty, for example. Like every Call of Duty game is more or less the same. It's hard to innovate on the Call of Duty formula, so they just say, "Hey, this game we made, Modern Warfare, this was really good. Let's just do that again because people liked it. Let's just freshen it up a little bit. Just give it a fresh coat of paint."
Yeah.
Instead of trying to develop something, new story, new actors, new this, and then a potential flop. It's like, well, if I put a fresh coat of paint on this, it's going to be an instant success.
Yeah.
And
that's the problem. There's no ingenuity anymore because they've kind of already creativity out of that market. Like they've already taken, it's the same as Forza. I mean, if you look at Forza now, it's really no different to PGR. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the same. It's just got different cars and different graphics, and it's the same with Gran Turismo. They're coming out. They're finally bringing out the weather changes and stuff like that. We've had that on Forza 7 for a year now. So again, and again, look, Horizon itself, it's the arcade thing. We've had that with Need for Speed. We've had that with other brands of racing. And look, don't get me wrong, some of these new games, I mean, yeah, they look great, but realistically, the heart and soul of the game is still last year's game. Like
Yeah.
it's not changing. Yeah,
Like
and look, I mean,
that's what I don't understand about remasters as well, because
because
like,
the remaster is basically the original game just with better graphics.
I get that, and I have played a few remastered games myself. Some from like the 360 era or past that, and it's lacking. I feel like we're trying to revive something that doesn't need to be revived.
I think
With
it's more
certain
nostalgia. It's
remasters.
more like the older generation, like us guys that are going, like, oh, geez, I wish I could play the original Call of Duty again because it was so good.
Mhm.
But then
They'll
why not play it
remaster it
in
and then
its
get back to
original
it.
state?
Yeah, that's again because there's no support. That's the problem.
I mean, speaking of
If you
remasters,
you try and play, going next.
as I say, speaking of remasters, this Thursday Diablo 2 launches. So, I mean,
There's the point. If
like,
if you could load Diablo 2, which required a very basic system, the computers are now too powerful that won't run.
yeah,
So remastering it allow it to re-enhance the ability to run on newer systems. So again, it still gives you
But
that newer system feel with the old game mode, and I think that's
I
kind
totally
of
get
where
it.
they're trying to push
yeah,
that.
and I get it
Because
for
there are games that I've tried to play.
yeah.
Sorry.
You're good.
Like
Go ahead.
Zork Nemesis, right?
Mhm.
You can get that
Yeah.
on GOG.com. Great game, like a fucking amazing puzzle adventure game. But it was built for essentially like Windows fucking XP and
Yeah.
DOS. Like it was built around that, and then like they've obviously tweaked the game so it works on newer
Mhm.
generation hardware, but it still doesn't work because the game wasn't designed to work with like
Mm-mm.
8 cores and
Yeah.
Yeah.
16
Yeah,
threads
that's right.
and 32 gig of RAM. It, it was so like you've got to tweak the files again to
Mhm.
get it to work on like a single core or something like that.
I
Well,
think
and
But
that's why we're seeing a lot of remastered games, though, is because they can make them run on these new systems, and it still gives that same gameplay as what we used to have, but just better. And
and
look, yeah,
on
I
that,
agree. Remasters are getting too thin.
uh,
We're just wearing them out.
one thing I'm interested in, I want to hear your guys' take on this because I know Nintendo is notorious for not remaking games, but just releasing the old game on a playable format for their new consoles. Like that's one of their big things they've always talked about is like you can go to the store and buy like the Nintendo classics. You can buy the NES games, the Super Nintendo games, and play them on the Wii U or the Switch. And I saw an article, it was earlier this week, and I didn't save it, but they were talking about adding N64 games to the virtual shop for the Switch. And I
Mhm.
know like earlier this year they launched the Mario All Stars collection, which was just a collection of Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy, basically in their original format. They weren't remastered, they weren't updated. It was just the original game playable on the Switch. How do you guys feel about that versus the remaster? Would you prefer to see just hey, here's a an old game that's now formatted to work on current hardware?
I guess with Nintendo is a lot of again from the eras of Nintendo, they were always just a made game.
Mm-hmm.
It was always just there's the game, buy it, put it in your console, play the game.
Right.
There was no in next week we've got to do an update and we've got to add this, we've got to add that, and
Mm-hmm.
we've got to do this. So I think for Nintendo to say we're going to bring back the N64 games or even go back beyond that,
Mm-hmm.
and say this is what we're going to bring in. I think it makes sense to bolster their library. I think a lot of the kids these days would actually enjoy some of those older games that
Right.
they don't necessarily get to see now because we're all in the Pokemons and things like that now, and we're in that phase of these higher end games, and they probably wouldn't have experienced a lot of those early games, like
Mm-hmm.
the Banjo Kazooie's originals and things like that, and I think Speed, you were talking about, I think you and I were talking throughout the last week or something about some of the old N64 games as well. But I think for Nintendo, it just makes sense to bring that back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where that differentiates between Nintendo and Xbox and PlayStation, because Xbox and PlayStation were, I guess, innovative in the fact of live gaming,
Mm-hmm.
where you could actually bring in those updates, you could run things on the fly type thing. It just doesn't make sense to keep going back to try and rehash those older games and mash them more, because you're just making a mess of what's already there in the system. So personally, I think it makes a lot of sense for Nintendo to do that. I think it really does. It gives them a big secondary market, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
to come and fire up. And then I think, in that aspect, providing they just bring you those straight games across, they'll be fine. I think it makes
Mm-hmm.
smart business sense. But Speed, what do you got on that?
I look, it's it's sort of like a massive grey area, isn't it? Like, um, I I don't have a problem with games being worked, like sort of reworked to work on like newer consoles or platforms or whatever. I'm okay with that because it does bring that nostalgia back
Mm-hmm.
into like the newer age. Uh, but we do live in an age of fidelity, and I think that's what's kind of pushing the remasters a little bit more now than before.
Yeah, he wasn't asking the
Yeah,
remasters
because
though. He was asking about Nintendo bringing the N64 game straight to the Switch in the virtual store.
well, like they Nintendo will do what Nintendo does. They sort of they're their own group. They will always do their own thing. But it's the same as like Xbox backwards compatibility. Just bringing those old titles back to so people can enjoy them again.
I just think Nintendo's got a better market for it though. I think
Mm-hmm.
their older style games were much more entertaining, I guess you could say, like the old Nintendo stuff.
Always were.
Yeah.
And people lost that. When certain licenses ran out on the N64, they couldn't get that game again and things like that. But I think it just makes sense. I think Nintendo are going to do it, no matter what. Like you say, Speed, they're going to do their own thing. But I just think it makes sense for them to do that because it just competes better with the market right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
That's
absolutely.
actually a good question. I mean, chat is
Uh,
open to comment on that as well. Like, what do you guys think of Nintendo bringing N64 games into the virtual store?
all right, so there's sort of like two ends of the spectrum here. So you've got um, you've got Nintendo who are bringing back all the old games, making the old. They're not touching them; they're just making them work
Mm-hmm.
on newer hardware. Then
Hmm.
you've got Sony who are literally just grabbing all their games, remastering them, and just re-releasing them. Uh, then you've got sort of Xbox as the middleman who's doing a bit of both.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
doing the
Like,
combination. Yeah.
yeah, it's a really it's a crazy time right now.
Actually, while we're on the subject of people bringing things in and doing that kind of stuff, what's your thoughts on the latest rumor of the new Xbox acquisition?
Oh, which one?
Well, I mean,
Right.
they're
So
saying it's a big blue, so I mean, yeah, read into it as much as you want, but the only one I could
right.
really think of that
So
would be any worth would be
Xbox
Sega,
is the
really.
Disney of the gaming industry.
Hmm?
uh,
Probably, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Little
uh,
princesses,
right.
that's for sure.
So for those who don't know, there's rumored acquisitions for Xbox revolving around Sega, Ubisoft, Square Enix, and Take-Two Interactive. These, I think, all four of those have been hot topics for a long time. Sega has been in the news as an Xbox acquisition for years now. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if it'll happen. Uh, if I mean Take Two Interactive, I can't see them being acquired by anyone.
Yeah.
Uh, Square
I don't
Enix,
think I don't think Take Two's
like
big enough, is it?
Take Two is big enough.
You think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you think about who they've got, right? If I can find image. Uh, so they've got the Borderlands franchise, BioShock, Max Payne, Mafia, GTA. Oh, 2K. Oh, 2K Interactive. There was
Ah,
that 2K acquisition that was on the
That
table
was
with
for
Xbox
was
last
it
week.
Xbox or Sony?
That was Xbox. Uh, so the Civilization franchise, Red Dead, and XCOM. Like, there's some pretty big titles.
yeah.
Um,
But my point is though, is it big enough that would make a
I,
mega
I,
difference? I don't think it is in the way of the concept of an acquisition.
okay,
Personally, if I think Xbox is going to do anything, I think they're going to take Sega for sure
Mhm.
because that is a much,
absolutely.
much
I
bigger
would.
indent in the market.
I
Yeah.
mean, but that's all your I'd say your Japanese style games. That's what
Mm-hmm.
Xbox is sort of lacking.
Yeah.
Yep,
Sony definitely has the hand in the pocket on that one.
that's right.
Uh, like they've got all the
Well, I mean,
JRPGs and
Yeah.
all that sort of jazz.
but
Microsoft
you've
is
also got
definitely a
Nintendo, which
more
is,
Western company.
Yeah,
Their
but you've also
products.
got Nintendo, which is also in that sort of Asian market as well. So I think Xbox is missing out that point. So I think if anything, yeah, maybe.
it would definitely. Like, I mean, if Xbox were to acquire Sega, the Xbox Nintendo relationship would get even tighter.
Oh yeah,
I can assure
yeah,
you of that.
Yeah.
Which would
100%.
be very interesting and very plausible. Uh, yeah, but like you look at Take Two. You got the biggest franchise there is GTA,
Yeah.
and Take Two Interactive have like an exclusive deal with PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
They will always showcase GTA 5 on the newest PlayStation console. And that is that the very first trailer that drops, it will always say at the end, available on PlayStation. That's it.
Yeah.
Always. Uh, so I don't know. I think I
I
don't know
would.
about that.
I personally would not be surprised if it is Sega because it just has a much bigger market appeal and would make ties with Nintendo a lot stronger.
Yeah.
And I think that would
Yeah,
also bring in the fact of the
I mean, but
ability
that's
with
why it's been on
Nintendo
the
to
table for
bring.
10 years.
But you see, let's be honest, the bond between Nintendo and Microsoft is actually pretty solid. So putting in
Yeah,
more ties would link it, and potentially we might see more of the Nintendo slot into the Xbox, maybe if it was a
yeah.
Sega acquisition.
Mm,
Uh,
no, Nintendo likes to hold on to their
nah,
stuff.
Ooh,
No,
yeah,
yeah,
Nintendo's
no, I
not
don't
gonna.
think that's going to be a
No.
case. No,
yeah. I could definitely see Xbox acquiring Square Enix though. I I could see that happening, which would
Ooh,
create a
Hmm.
massive blow
I
to
don't.
the Sony side of
Oh,
things.
I don't know if it
Um,
would hurt Sony all that much, though. To be fair,
it
like,
kind of would,
I mean,
mainly for the Final Fantasy franchise. Like that's
yeah, but don't forget Marvel. Sony's already got the Marvel stuff, so you wouldn't really get Square
well, that's it.
Enix.
Well, uh,
You wouldn't get Square Enix because they've already got, Sony's already got
Square
that Marvel
Enix.
thing running
Square
over there.
Enix
But
does have the Avengers game though.
okay,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's got Marvel Avengers and stuff in it. So yeah,
right.
you'd be really
See,
pushed to get that out.
but
But
with
isn't
the Bethesda acquisition, though, there was a Sony exclusive title in there that was going to be Sony exclusive, and then Xbox went and just went, "Hey, Bethesda, guess what? We own you now," and then that exclusive was no longer exclusive. So it's anything's possible, really, when it comes to an acquisition.
isn't Square
Yeah,
also doing the Guardians of the Galaxy game as well?
I
Oh, yeah.
believe so.
Yeah.
I do believe
But
so.
Guardians of the Galaxy is multi-plat.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying that like that's a property that like they would get if they bought Square Enix.
Yeah.
Like I'm just going down through like the Square Enix things. You know, they got Nair Automated, the Final Fantasy stuff. You know, they also did something for the Wii as well, but a lot of their stuff is PlayStation. So they got a lot of links to PlayStation. So I don't know whether that would be an acquisition that Microsoft could actually get. I think they'd be more keen to drop by on Sony on that one.
Warner Brothers games.
I don't.
I
Again,
don't
there's
know. Warner Brothers games is sort of one of those weird. It's one of those weird areas.
Wouldn't that give them access to the Lego titles?
Yeah.
Oh.
Basically,
Speaking of Lego, I want the Skywalker Saga now.
no, they got to stop releasing Lego Star Wars games. Like, come on, like, because they just redo the whole fucking collection. They release the games and like they make a collection, then like one more game comes out and like, oh, we're gonna make a whole new collection for that one, and then they release another one and a whole new collection. Stop it! just
again, if we're looking at Warner
section
Brothers,
shit
you're
off.
looking at like a lot of your Lego stuff. You're looking at Mortal Kombat, your Hitman, you know, Injustice. You know, again, a lot of it's. I don't know if that's actually a big enough acquisition that would warrant making a public deal out of it. That'd be one of those little side ones that you just sort of like just slide into the system and then turn them exclusively Xbox. You know, like
yeah.
But again,
there's really
they're
nothing
all
major in there.
rumors, so there's nothing concrete there. They're
No,
all
it's all
rumors.
rumors and speculations.
Oh, that's right.
The
I mean, it's all
Sega
just
one's been a rumor for years.
I would be very happy if somebody bought Activision and got Bobby Kotick out of there. Just throwing that out there.
The problem is Xbox don't need another studio, as in like another like point like that.
Well, the thing is that Xbox aren't acquiring all of these studios to create a monopoly. That's not their intention. It's more
like Disney.
Yeah, it's more of an inclusive thing for gamers. You know, they want the best product for gamers as a whole. You know, releasing the game on PC, releasing the game on consoles,
Xbox,
mobile, like
xCloud,
being able to have that variety there. But if it's like only, you know, under the reins of say Sony, then Sony are going to be like, oh, everything's exclusive over here. And then just sort of screw everyone over because they don't care about anyone.
Yeah. And there's been a ton of indie games that have launched on Game Pass this month as well.
Yeah, see, Xbox do a lot with the indie developers as well. Like, and that's probably where I think Sony's missed that mark, is they don't do a lot with the indie stuff. I think Sony kind of says, go away, get a finished product, then come and see us. And I think Xbox is like, well, hey, come over here. We'll put it on our platform. You know, we'll boost it out, and you know, we'll get you some traction. And I think,
I think Sony sort of goes that near AAA title status.
Yeah. So I think, you know, that's probably an area to keep watching if you guys are on the gaming news and keeping up with, you know, who's buying what. I think that's definitely an acquisition to be keeping your fingers on the pulse with, because it's going to be big news. It doesn't matter which way it goes. It's going to be big news to hit hard, and it's got to be something that's going to indent the market a lot.
I mean, it was like the huge Bethesda acquisition.
Yeah,
that was a big hit to everyone.
Oh yeah,
that was massive
and
news.
Definitely stirred the waters quite a bit. So like, I mean, and the ones that are left are very big companies now. Like the ones that have stood the test of time, really. So the next one's going to be a big one, I
think. Something else I've noticed getting around a little bit more now, and I don't know if you boys have actually noticed it, but Overwatch is starting to make a bit of a resurgence.
I haven't noticed it.
I follow Overwatch.
The only Overwatch
I've-
news I've seen in the past few weeks is all these sponsors dropping themselves from the Overwatch League. But that's it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because Overwatch 2, Blizzard are going to show that off at the Overwatch League Grand Finals.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen a few people, again, a lot on Twitch is starting to revitalize the Overwatch gameplay, and I've seen some of it on here as well.
Yeah.
There seems to be, Overwatch is starting to get a little bit more traction, and people are starting to go back to it and play it again.
Mhm.
But it'll be interesting to see sort of what comes of number 2, because I think it's going to be compared to number 1, as we were saying with games before, with the remasters and stuff and how they've lost creative development. That's probably going to be one that's going to be very, very highly scrutinized in, you did this right and you screwed this, but now you've screwed this and done this right. Why can't you just, So I think it's going to be an interesting shake-up on the game market, that one as well. So
yeah.
if anyone who's watching the Overwatch leagues, look out for the showcase of that as well.
It'd be the same if they did a Rocket League too. It's almost unnecessary, but if they did happen to do it, oh my god, it would be put under a microscope.
Yeah.
But I mean, is Rocket League one of those?
It. But is Overwatch one of those games that needs a second one?
I think Overwatch 2
obviously
would.
The story.
I think it needs it. I think they made some big blunders in the first one, and I think they need to fix it and make it right. I think it is definitely something that will draw a lot of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Something like Rocket League, though, and Speed, this is probably more you because you play Rocket League more than anybody I've ever fucking known.
A lot.
What would be the purpose of a Rocket League 2?
There wouldn't.
They're just
they're just blatantly.
That's like asking what would be the point of a League of Legends 2. There's no point.
The only absolutely it's just one of those games, and the only thing I can think of is if they rebuilt the game, like rebuilt it in a brand new engine where they couldn't sort of transfer it over from the old one to a new one.
Yeah.
Just rebuilt it from the ground up. Made sure everything that was funky isn't funky anymore. But honestly, apart from that, there's nothing they can do. I mean, there's already talks that they're upgrading to Unreal Engine 5 at some point in the future.
But what if they just made it open world?
No.
No, you couldn't do that with Rocket League. There'd be no point to it. Literally, Rocket League is one of those. It's those one-off type games. It's like it was a great concept. It's kind of like Minecraft. You couldn't do a Minecraft 2. There's just no point.
Yeah.
There'd just be Minecraft 2. Like, what would be the point? It's just one of those
there is
dead end games, I guess you could say. It's just going to be one of those games that just dies off in the next 10 or 15 years. And you're going to be like, back when I was playing, you're going to tell the kids,
games like Minecraft and Rocket League, those games are fine to kind of update and launch on next gen consoles. But that brings us back around. GTA 5, you could make a GTA 6 and it could be better and bigger than GTA 5. You don't need to just keep doing GTA
it's fucking
5.
better be.
Yeah.
What I want to see, from GTA is they've got the capabilities now of combining all the maps. They have the capabilities now with the current gen consoles and even PCs. They could combine all the maps. Why not just give us a living, breathing GTA world that evolves day and night? Why not just give us the ultimate GTA? Just put it into a GTA X and just end the series right there. It just evolves, and you've got mega space.
You can just add new islands, new cities, those sorts of things.
You can just. That's right.
But that was one of the things that did come up with the whole GTA 6 rumors, is that there's people were creating maps, fan maps that included, and they were very detailed, by the way. You would assume that they were actually real.
Real world.
They included all of the cities from from GTA,
What
and
I
it
want to,
all it all worked in together, and it all
what I
flowed.
also
The
want them to do
map would
is,
have been fucking massive. Like,
but what I wanted to do is give us that RP that we can do straight from the word go. We don't need special like mods and shit to do it.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
I
have the
would
game out of GTA and have the GTA role play. You know, like just give us those things. Like you'd solidify yourself for the next 10 years in
yeah.
that situation.
Well, I mean, you got GTA 5, which has already lasted what 9 years already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
stupid
and
amount
that
of time.
it's going to go on for another 5 years at least, with the new enhanced and expanded edition.
At this point, yeah.
So like with GTA 6, I would assume that they would be going all in. Like
You'd have to.
GTA 6 would, I would say, almost be their last game. They would put everything and anything into that game. They would make it the biggest, best experience. That's because they've got GTA 5 under their belt. They've learned a lot from that. So
I guess at
move all
this
that
point in
over,
time,
make it better.
they have to decide, is it in their interest to put an end to the series and just go bang, here's the big one, the ultimate one, everything? Or is it worth them trying to drag it on for, another game, and just keep flowing it on? Because I just don't think it will be.
See, like from a public perspective, they're always going to want a new game. They're always going to want a new GTA at some point. But I mean, you look at how big GTA is getting now. Like, you look at the size of, say, GTA 4 compared to what's in GTA 5. It's just
Yeah.
phenomenal, the difference between the
Yeah.
two. And obviously,
Oh, it
GTA
is.
6 is going to be twice as big. And it's going to be absolutely massive. But, where do you stop? At what point do you draw the line and be like, okay, we can only do this much? Because
Yeah,
obviously
we flogged this dead horse enough. Like,
there's going to be too much in the game now. I mean,
I
GTA
guess
5
it
is
is.
already at that stage where there's so much to do in the game. It's like you could spend
I mean,
weeks
is it
on
possible to
end.
have too much in a game? Like, let's say the GTA 6. Okay, for argument's sake, they take on board everything that we do, and they say, "Yep, we're going to give this everything," and then a story on GTA 6 takes you like months and months to complete, rather than just hours. Like, are you not going to want to play the story? Like, you're not going to want to,
See, that sort of, it goes into that dark area where the game would have content, but it's got too much content because you want the story of GTA to be expansive, but also doable.
I mean, as someone that plays
So
the MMOs, there's no such thing as too much content.
No,
Like,
exactly.
give it
Yeah, that's my
all
point.
of us.
Yeah,
Like, I'll say this: like, if you were to log into World of Warcraft for the first time, there is so much to do. There is leveling up. There is dungeons. There are transmogs, mounts, pets from like 17 years worth of content. And Final
Yeah.
Fantasy 14 is the same way. Like I've
Yep.
I've watched a lot of the WoW streamers that have jumped in and played Final Fantasy 14, and they're for months are just working on the story content for the base game. They haven't even touched the new expansions yet, and it's just got them going for almost a month now on just that one version of the game. Like I don't think having a big story, a long story, is a bad thing if the payoff is there. Like, if it is worth playing, like, make it so that, like, when you're playing the game, it opens up more of the map. Like, as you progress through the story, suddenly your map that you can play with is bigger. Make it worth expanding. Like, if you do, like, because GTA 5 right now, like, you do, like, the first couple of missions, and boom, Los Santos is yours. You can just go wherever you want in Los Santos. You can just sandbox it, whatever. But, like, if you kind of, like, gatekeep sections of the city or sections of the map behind the story and make it so that, like, as you're exploring the world, like, your decisions that in the story are, like, impacting the world, like, suddenly, like, this area is open or this area is closed off, that sort of thing. And I know Red Dead 2 did that in a similar way, where, like, as you're progressing through
Mhm.
the stories, you've got rival gangs that control this territory. Now you
Yep,
can't get in there. You can't get in there until you
that's right.
resolve something in the story. And I think bringing in
Yeah,
something
but
like that to a GTA 6, where as you go through the map opens up, I think that's great.
Yeah,
but they
exactly.
they have already done that. They did that in GTA 3 or GTA Vice City,
Yeah.
where there was a bridge that was under construction,
Yeah.
and you could, I mean, you could get over there
Right.
with some with some uh, with some interesting ways, but you couldn't do anything over there. You would
Yeah.
immediately spawn back on the original island. Um, like, so they've dabbled in that, but I think they've more solidified themselves in the open world. Like, you can literally go anywhere, you can do whatever, just
Well, and
whatever you want to do.
I
You
think
can,
that's
I just
great for
think,
like online, but I'm thinking like from single player GTA perspective, like give us that
yeah,
long arcing story that opens up the map.
yeah, 100%.
yeah, but like
Like I
in GTA
totally
5, there
agree with
there
that.
is so much you can do.
Hmm.
Like, even if you do the single player, there is an exceptional amount of stuff that you can see, that you can do in the game. So it doesn't it doesn't matter if you like close stuff off. You might not see half the map at all for like the whole game.
Well, and that's
I just
why
think that
if you narratively do it, you can have a story that takes you to all the different sections of the map, so you do get to see
Yeah,
those.
I mean, you do eventually, but there's still so much more beyond that.
Yeah.
I just think
Like
GTA
all
6
the
needs to be the big one. It needs to be the ending of all GTA type thing
Hmm.
coming together, building into what has been this city or these cities and the people and stuff like that. I think if they could do something along those sort of lines and just make the content just mega, I think, like I said, you'd solidify for the next 10 or 15 years where people just wouldn't be worried about another GTA. They wouldn't be thinking about it. It'd just be like, yep, I'm glad they've done this because now it
Yeah.
brings all those stories together. It brings, this person and that person, and they've all, got into their retirement, I guess you could say, and this is what they've done. I think it'd just be a fantastic game. And I think it'd have a little bit more respect than what GTA 5's got at the moment, where it's just next console, next console, next console, next console,
yeah,
mobile, next console. It's just,
but
you're
like
just flogging a dead horse at this point.
Do you think GTA 5 would be in this situation if they actually released like more maps to play with, like over the years? Like if they had actually been adding more maps instead of just Los Santos over and over again, do you think it would be different?
I I think the problem with it personally that I
oh
see with GTA 5 is it doesn't matter how much you put in there. Like you're always going to have, you know, the whole system of you've got to do, X to get to Y. Like
Hmm.
you've still got to do like a ton of X to buy this apartment. Then you've got to go back and you're trying to do it. And I think it's the toxicity that's bred in the GTA stuff. Like, I'd love to get into the role plays, but I just can't bring myself to install GTA 5 on another damn console.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
So whether they
like
added, another 10 islands and you had to fly to them or use boats or whatever to get out there, there's still the fact is you've got to grind X to get Y. I mean, that's
Hmm.
as simple as it is.
But like, I'm okay with what Deceptus said in chat. Where if it was that living, breathing sort of
Mm,
environment where it did constantly change,
yeah.
so like if I don't know how it works. So like if say in story mode, how like in GTA 5, you end up driving a car through one of the hospitals and essentially just bust up the fucking hospital. You could come back like 5 minutes later and it's all fixed. That if it was like your actions in the story sort of determined long-term effects on the map,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that would be cool. Where if you blew up a building, that building would now be just rubble or something, and then you would see like the rebuilding process of said building.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
main
mean,
building that's in the city in GTA 5 that's been
Under
under
construction.
construction for nine years now and hasn't gone anywhere. I mean, but if that were to like sort of slowly develop over time and then actually become a new
Yeah.
building with, you know,
that you could move into
new
and stuff.
missions,
Yeah,
new objectives, you know, yeah, like yeah, just had all of this stuff, a
I think
living,
that's where I'd like.
breathing, evolving world.
That's where I'd like to have. Like, I guess in some aspects, I'd like to have a split on GTA where you've got the GTA side, but you've got the RP side. So the RP
Mhm.
side might be the, you know, on the GTA side it might be the criminal activity, but on the RP side it might be the, you know, the community activity. So you might be, you know, you might be that builder who's got to build the building, you've got to plan the building, things like that. Like I'd like to have that kind of evolution where, you know, you control what's being built where, and you're fighting against those criminals who are trying to do the things to take them down and things like, you know what I mean? Like just having that combination of gameplay against that situation where, you
Yeah.
know, if you want to go and be a douchebag, you flick on the GTA side and you go around and you know, you crash the trucks that are taking the things in, and there's, you know, delays the buildings, and you know, costs the builder more money because it's now, you know, delayed, things like that. You know, like just things like that. I think an actual proper living world, like it would be a living world as such,
Yeah.
would make GTA
I
6
think
just brilliant.
I think it needs to be a living world
Hmm,
that's
I
constantly
think so,
changing.
but I think
That's
you
the
need to have
only way
options.
I think it can move forward.
I think you need to have options in the next one where you can be, you know, on that good side or you can be on that bad side. You know, like
Mhm.
you could fight the
Oh,
crime or you could be the crime. You know, I think just need to give you
it's not
that
like
balance.
it's two kind of thing. You're sort of choosing whether you're the bad guy or the
Yeah,
good guy.
yeah, you kind of doing certain things that, you know, highlight. You know, you're making choices in the world that now, you know.
Yep, no, that's
Well, I think
uh,
it'd be a
I'd be
good
alright with that.
aspect, and it makes the RP then a little more worthwhile, and because it brings the RP element into the main game rather than just being a mod for the game to see.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. It
it's
does. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly
I
right.
think
Yeah.
what they need to do is, so when they came out with GTA 5 and then GTA Online, they like treated them as separate, but also like they're tied to each other. They're connected to each other. I think in order for it to
Yeah,
succeed, they need to have like GTA 6 and GTA Online as like completely separate games.
separate.
Kind of like how you
Yeah.
have Skyrim and Elder Scrolls Online. You know, they're done by completely different companies, but
Yeah.
still under that same like Elder Scrolls universe. And I think that would be what would keep GTA successful. Because if you like add GTA Online as its own thing, like, and even you can keep it on the platform of GTA 5, but just add like the GTA 6 maps and stuff to it, and just like let GTA Online be this like thriving world, and then you have like your single player adventure with like a GTA 6.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, you
Yeah,
could
that
have
could
it
work too.
as solely GTA Online,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You
saying
know,
is like just make GTA Online its own thing where you can log in and do the RP, you can do the online that's there separate
no, but
from.
like, you could blend the two together.
Yeah,
Because it's sort of because like you know some GTA Online missions don't involve everyone on the server.
right,
They do
No, that's
actually
right.
just involve you and your crew and
right,
whatnot. So so in that aspect, it's more like a single player mission.
yeah,
Um, so you know, combining the two together into one is not actually a bad idea because like
right,
some
Yeah.
missions that you do can be you know impacted by the people who are on the servers.
right.
Uh, which would add that bit of difficulty. Also, they need to nerf a lot of weapons and vehicles in order for that to be an actual thing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Fuck the Oppressor Mark II off. That needs to go.
Anyway,
That can go burn in hell. Anyway,
moving on.
so some new tech has been announced, which I didn't even know was a thing or was coming. Was DLAA from NVIDIA.
Oh, yes,
Uh,
the Nvidia.
yeah,
Yes.
the deep learning anti-aliasing,
Hmm.
which is very interesting. So it's like DLSS, But instead of running at a lower resolution to get a frame rate boost, it uses AI to upscale everything to look smoother.
Yep.
So basically, there is like zero performance boost. So if you're trying to get FPS, DLAA is not your thing. But it will take those jagged edges away. I think that has a lot of potential, actually.
If anybody's keen, there's the
I
link to that
I,
story
I,
as
I
well.
do, you know, I do wonder how the two would go interacting with each other, DLA and DLSS.
They probably won't because they're running on two different techs. So you're trying to get too much out of the same feature, really.
I think, right, as much as it's a conflict of interest, I reckon DLAA and AMD's FSR would work well together. Because FSR uses it sort of uses anti-aliasing as like a baseline and then works off that. So whatever anti-aliasing the game is using,
But
FSR
that would
works on
that would
top of
only
that
work for
and
somebody
creates.
with an NVIDIA card and an AMD card at this speed.
Well, yes, but for the people who do own, a 2000 series or a 3000 series RTX card, that would be a viable option for them to do that.
Yeah, potentially.
And
I mean, look,
I'd just be
NVIDIA is
interesting to
always
see
pushing
how
the
those
boundaries.
two work together. That's all.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're always trying to push the boundaries to get better tech for those sort of like not only just frame rates but just fidelity, quality, and stuff too. I think is definitely something that's interesting to see them pushing the boundaries on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, DLSS and FSR are sort of they're pushing the boundaries. That's for sure.
Oh
Because
yeah,
essentially you're guessing what content is there at a lower resolution, and that
going to help clean it up a
I don't
lot.
know. I would draw the line uh, at some
I mean,
point. Like,
the fact they're gonna do it on Elder Scrolls Online is interesting.
That is an interesting choice.
yeah. I mean,
I
obviously
didn't
they've
know
got to
people
start
still
somewhere.
played that game.
I actually know a couple of people who still play ESO. Um, and that's their thing. It's like, but it's like it's like WoW, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
it's
need to
just one
play
of those
WoW.
ones.
Like it's just there's a lot of people playing WoW.
I still play WoW.
I know.
You're just a big kiddo, Yakes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how all that pans out and how it's accepted by the community. I think, like for me, DLAA would be a good thing. Because it's not taking a performance hit and it's not a performance boost, but it's the anti-aliasing that I would get if I could, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's
At,
yeah.
yeah, it would just at high resolutions, I think it would be a good thing. Like I know at some games at 4K, you still see a couple of jaggedy lines here and there. I think with the finer details. So like if I'm playing ATS and there's power line, it goes a little bit funky
Mhm.
when it gets really really tiny. Like DLA would sort of sort that out pretty
Yeah, well,
well.
that would
I think.
be that would be an interesting one to sort of check out at some point.
Yeah. Uh, but on to other things. Splitgate will be uh launching an in-game level editor. And have boasted that it will be done before Halos is launched. Apparently, Halo's level editor has been in since Halo 3, and it will not be at launch with Halo Infinite.
Yeah,
So
so
that,
I
that's
see
interesting.
I see a lot with Halo at the moment going up and down, and you see they got $100 million for Splitgate. Yeah, it's actually quite popular at the moment. Splitgate, it's very active on a lot of platforms right now. But again, just going on the Halo thing, like I don't know, when are we actually going to get Halo launch? Like, it just feels like this thing's just an ever evolving circle. It's just going around, and yes, we're going to do it. No, we're not. Yes, we're going to do it. No, we're not. Yes, we're going to do it. We're going to take this feature out. No, we're going to do it now with this feature. And I don't know. Like, are we actually going to get
It's
Halo
hard
to
to say.
launch?
Look, I would love Halo Infinite to launch as much as anyone else. I know it's coming at some point. Just have to wait. Really, it's got more substance than GTA 6. Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little concerned with the Halo like the Halo market itself. Like, it just around it all, they've made so many adjustments to try and get the game out, and then they've stalled because the new consoles come out. And I don't know.
Well, the problem is hype. We live in an age now where we overhype something, and then it gets delayed, and it causes issues and whatnot.
I mean,
But like we live in a world where if we delay a game, people get shitty because the game has been delayed. But a lot of
yeah.
people understand that you need to delay a game to make it better, right? But then there's the other side where if it releases on time, people get shitty because it's full of bugs, and
So,
then they're finally happy when those bugs are fixed, and there's no
so that leads
pleasing
me to a
anyone.
question. That leads me to a question though. Has Splitgate done the smart thing here by flying under the radar?
I think so.
Because I mean,
Uh,
let's be, the game's not polished. Like, it's very solid, but it's flown under the radar.
I think it's filling the void at the moment between Halos. Uh, it's that game that has that Halo fix with a little bit extra. Just sort of, it's a great time for that game in the market. To be honest, I think it's going to absolutely skyrocket in popularity.
I mean, we're talking about hype and stuff. I mean, anyone remember Fall Guys?
What?
Fall Guys. You know, the little
What's that
little
game? I
show
don't
thing?
know. It's
Like
I
Wipeout
don't
style
know.
game.
It mustn't have been that
I mean,
popular.
that got hyped up something fierce, and then it just sort of fell on its
They're
sword. It's just
apparently
like,
on season 4 now.
Oh, I thought that
didn't
game
know
was
that.
dead.
so did
Yeah.
I. Like, I haven't heard or seen anything of it. Does
I
anyone still
remember
play
there
it,
was.
actually?
No, I don't. I never even bought it. I don't even know anyone. Like, I used to know a lot of people who did play it, and they don't play it anymore. Like, they used to play it religiously. But even they ran into sort of that wall of, well, there's nothing new. It's literally the same stuff over and over again.
I know early on they had
that was even
big,
before they announced season 2. So
I know they had big problems with hackers at one point.
oh yeah, they did.
Like,
you had people
I mean,
basically skipping straight to the end.
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
yeah.
it was
or they would
so bad.
They would fly over the map.
It was so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
The deeds like in
So-
Splitgate.
Yeah, Fall Guys is just one of those games that has just died. Like they can. Look, I understood the concept first off, and I thought it was a good concept. But
Is that the point
sort
of
Fall
overhyping
Guys.
the game?
Fall Guys was a really fun game when it first came out, but between the hackers, the lack of level variety, it was really fun, and then it just became not fun because
the thing is, like they laid everything out on the table and said, here's a fantastic game, and then they just sort of walked away and forgot about it.
Yeah, well, and the thing with like
it didn't really bring anything new to the table.
The thing about Fall Guys is it was really fun when nobody knew how the maps worked. Like once you get into
Yeah.
like a lot of the maze levels, like the strategy then is just not to be the first one through, but like just be that fifth or sixth guy through and just watch everybody else
Yeah.
solve the puzzle and just go with
Yeah.
them. And it
Yeah.
sort of seemed to defeat the purpose of an obstacle course.
Mhm.
I don't know. It
But
just
If it was,
is that
if
the
it
point
was
though?
like
Where we
a, sorry, you're right.
no, you're right. So we're gone.
If it was like an evolving course type,
yeah.
where it was procedurally generated sort of thing,
Yeah.
I think that could have been
Yeah, but it was like
interesting.
the
But it,
courses were just the courses. That was it.
yeah, yeah, the mechanics were still the same regardless of which map it was, I guess.
Yeah.
But is that the classic sign of overhyping a game?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and then some.
I
Well,
mean,
but I do think the hype at launch was worth it because when Fall Guys came out, there really wasn't anything like it for as like a because it kind of pulled on like the battle royale hype, but instead of it being like an arena competition, it was like, oh, here's a battle royale platformer, which was different.
Yeah.
And I think what happened is they didn't follow up on that initial hype, and I think that's where the game fell flat. I think the hype itself was warranted because I remember, so I had PlayStation Plus. Fall Guys launched, and immediately, like on launch day, it was free to PlayStation Plus. So I downloaded it. I played like a ton of it, and then, but like after a while, like playing it for like 2 weeks, it's like, well, I've seen all this map. I know how this plays out. I know someone's gonna hack and go get this map, so I'm not even gonna have a chance. And sure enough, that's kind of what happens, and it just kind of fell off the cliff. But it was so fun at launch. Like Fall Guys launch was so good, and it reminds me a lot of Pokemon Go at launch because Pokemon Go at launch was this like super hyped up, phenomenal, awesome thing, and then it sort of just died out, and a lot of it was just the devs of it were not prepared for it to be as big as it was, and it crashed, and it's still active, but that launch week of Pokemon Go and the launch week of Fall Guys were awesome times in gaming for me.
Yeah, I think they panicked.
Yes.
Yeah, so like, yeah, as I said, they sort of brought it all to the table. Went, oh fuck, everyone wants all
Yeah,
of
everyone
this.
wants to play this. Oh, what do we do?
Well, shit, we don't have any more ideas.
Yeah.
Crap. And then there's that long hiatus between all the new content, and
I know
it
they
was,
weren't
it
ready
was
for
too
support.
long.
I know the support was not ready for the influx that they did get because I had an issue
No.
Mm-hmm.
and I went to the Discord and went, hey, and they went, take it to our Twitter. And I'm like, okay, so someone's obviously going to man Twitter. So I went to the Twitter and then 3 days later, I get a response saying, we can't help you. It's just like, well, why would you tell me to go from one to
Yeah.
another if you're not going to be able to help me anyway? Like,
Yeah.
like you've got a Discord there, use that as your support. People
Right.
can just log in there and say, hey, I've got this problem because, 4 or 5 people might have the same issue. So rather than 4 or 5 people going to Twitter and you have to respond to 4 people,
Mm-hmm.
you could put in a one answer for general, like, overall looks of what's going on.
Right.
So I think they just got, I think it was just an overwhelming amount of hype around it. And then when it did drop and people did get, on it and there was issues, they just didn't know how to respond to it.
Yeah.
But it was like Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes, Cyberpunk
Yes.
was the same. Yeah.
When that got announced and Keanu Reeves walked down the stage, like huge fucking hype. Like it was
Yeah.
massive hype for that game.
Well,
And like the concept of the game was great, the idea was great, like how it looked was gorgeous, like just the concept itself was fantastic. How they implemented it was absolute fucking garbage.
mm-hmm.
And
Reminded me a
that
lot of No
hurt
Man's
that
Sky.
game a lot.
Yeah.
Same
No
as
Man's
Sky. I mean, massive hype around that, because the launch trailer had, all of these, cool planets and flora and fauna that you could interact with, and then the game came out and it just wasn't fucking there.
I know. I remember like I
Like,
loved playing the game when
well-
it first came out, but I ran into a lot of, oh, I've seen this planet before. I've seen this already. Like, and I haven't. I've heard it's better now. I haven't had a chance to jump in and check it, but
I have heard that it's very playable now.
yeah.
But I mean,
Once you check it
this
out.
is years after.
Yeah,
it's
years after.
come out. So I mean, same as Cyberpunk. I mean, at what stage down the track is Cyberpunk actually going to be worth the money and very playable?
Yeah.
You know, it was supposed to be that GTA sort of rival, and it just wasn't.
No, there was a lot of issues at launch. Although some people that I talked to played it with no issue. They never had a drum with it. It played beautifully, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, you must have been one of the very few lucky ones because
Yeah.
I hadn't heard many that played it without
Well,
incident. So
I had that
again,
issue.
Cyberpunk, one of those games.
I had that with Jedi Fallen Order on PS4 because I've
Oh,
heard nothing but like the PS4 version of that game was incredibly buggy and unplayable. But I played all the way through it. I never ran into any game breaking bugs or anything like that with it.
yeah, right.
Um,
Interesting.
Yeah.
but moving on, Microsoft has announced that the xCloud service,
Mm-hmm.
which will be officially known as Xbox Cloud Gaming, is now available to everyone via the Xbox app on Windows 10/Windows 11.
Hmm.
So that's available to everyone. Like you don't need to be an insider; is just available to everyone,
Yep.
which is very cool. Uh, I have had the privilege of testing out the xCloud on my phone, and it's an experience, to say the least. Uh, it does work very smoothly. I will say that much. Everything works as intended. The one thing that is very quick and is almost in real time is the Xbox menu. The game itself, not so much. There is that small delay between what you do and what you see. Uh, so, yeah, if you do happen to play games using cloud gaming, I do recommend playing like slower based games, nothing too fast paced like FPS or racing games or anything like that. If it's like turn based, yeah, go nuts.
Yeah.
Do you see it something they can improve on that? Do you see it as potentially getting that closer time gap?
No, I don't think the technology is going to be there. I mean, possibly at some stage, like way down the track, it may be a thing where they'll be able to reduce the latency between where it's playing and your device. I haven't tested out the local streaming yet,
Yeah.
because I know I can stream from my console to my phone or whatnot, even to my PC. So I don't know how that's going to go. I'd say it would be the same sort of delay. It would probably be a little bit quicker because it's obviously using a hardline internet
Local.
instead of cellular data. Uh, but I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. You
So
do get to play your games everywhere, but
So the biggest issue, from what I'm picking up there, is going to be the fact that everyone's connection is going to be at a different rate. So
it will all determine
it'll
on your
that'll
connection.
be yeah.
Like
So it's all
I
connection dependent. Yeah.
like my phone uses 4G, uh, which is probably not the most ideal connection you could probably use for it. I think if you had 5G, yeah, the latency would definitely be a little bit lower.
Right.
Uh, if you're using, you know, high speed hardline internet, uh, definitely you would see like
Much
lower,
less latency.
yeah, lower latency
Yeah.
there. But yeah, there are going to be people who are running on like say old 3G. Some places I wouldn't recommend that at all. Please do not play games on 3G. You will have a very bad experience, and it will probably just tell you that you can't play the game.
I wouldn't even recommend anyone to
But
do a Google search on 3G.
yeah, it's slow. I mean, like 4G, yeah, it's doable.
Yeah.
It's very playable. But even like hardline internet, if you're running a slow speed, I probably wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend anything under 100 megabits per second, honestly. Just just for that latency aspect.
4K.
Damn, I remember that too. I remember having 28K. But yeah, no, that's the thing. So that's available to everyone. So if you want to go and check that out, you will have to download the Xbox app via Windows 10. It is integrated into Windows 11. It doesn't work properly via Windows 11, as Kaz will tell everyone.
It's still too early to trust anything Windows 11.
Yeah. But in other news, a C++ developer, Igor July, I believe I pronounced his name right, Igor July, was trying to restore removed games into his GeForce Now application, and was sort of reverse engineering some files, and uh, was able to access the console.log file, which listed the 18,000 plus titles on the service. And by doing so, accidentally came across more than he was expecting. He came across a large amount of titles that have not been announced yet. And naturally, in a true internet fashion, he leaked every single one of those onto Twitter.
Of
Of
course.
course he did.
So
Why wouldn't you?
that list does include future PC titles, some of which were in speculation, some multi-platform titles as well.
And none of which will now be seen.
But some names have been taken off that list now, in fear of that actually being no, because some publishers do like put that title in there as sort of like a placeholder
Yeah.
Yeah.
sort of thing. So, uh, but it's interesting because there was a GTA 3 remaster.
Hmm.
There was
Mhm.
a, if I can bring it up, if I can find it. Yeah, I've lost it already. Uh, there it is. So there was lots of games that PlayStation exclusive, when I say, that have now appeared on the PC side of things. Things like Sackboy's Big Adventure, Ratchet and Clank, uh, God of War is there as well, and Bayonetta 3. There you go. That's on that list. But I found it interesting that
Spyro?
GTA 3 remastered. I don't think there was a Spyro.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled was on there though.
Oh, okay.
So
That's already
the
out.
thing I found interesting was that GTA 3 remastered, GTA Vice City remastered, and GTA San Andreas remastered are on the list. That I find extremely interesting. I mean, there were rumors around those
I
games
would play so
being
much Vice City. That would be awesome.
like, could you imagine playing Vice City like without the fog
Yeah.
and like sort of ramped up graphics? Oh man,
It's the
yeah, I loved
80s.
Vice City so much, but I just find it interesting that those three were on there and they've been rumored for
Yeah.
some time now. Uh, I mean, that could explain the whole like void in the GTA scene.
Yeah.
Really, if they've been working on
Now,
those,
I wonder if those are going to be bundled together in one release.
I would say yes. I would say like it'd be like a GTA remastered collection or
I
something.
would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. I mean, those three games are just iconic.
Oh, yeah.
Really, they sort of all came out around about the same time. So to have those in one sort of collection would make a lot of sense. Um, yeah, Half-Life 2 remastered. It's like, wow, okay, I didn't see that one before. That's actually a big one. Uh, Still no
Half-Life
Half-Life
3.
3. No Half-Life 3. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, some Scalebound. Wasn't that game cancelled?
No,
Or no, it wasn't
it
cancelled.
wasn't
Okay.
cancelled. It was just we're not doing it right now. We will look into it later. Type, you know,
Right. Okay.
like
So it's on
much later.
hiatus.
It wasn't cancelled. It was like, we've kind of maybe taken on too much, but we'll look at it.
Right. Human Fall Flat 2 is on the list.
Okay.
We did know that Human Fall Flat was going to get a sequel, but because of popularity, they decided to continue on just adding stuff into the first game. So that's not really a big shock. City Skylines 2 piques my interest. I'm interested in that one. Destroy All Humans 3. Now, that is actually very interesting considering they've already remastered the first one. They're about to launch the remaster of the second one. So, to launch a third one would just make sense.
Yes.
Some other games.
That's why it would make
Kingdom
sense to
Hearts.
launch a Spyro 4 after remastering the 3 Spyros.
Here we go. Captain
But
Spyro down the bottom here.
let's just have Toys for Bob work on Call of Duty because that's what they need, more Call of Duty developers. Ah.
Yeah. Unannounced title by Square Enix. That's their Tomb Raider 25th Anniversary Edition. Why? Wasn't there a 20th Anniversary Edition?
Yeah.
By chance, is there a game on that list
okay.
called Wumpa League?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. No.
Oh, okay.
There is Worms next. So the next, whatever that is.
Worms.
They were always good games to play, mess around with.
Worms, yeah, absolutely.
Worms was fantastic.
So it's the whole swag of titles on that list. Obviously, the most interesting ones are there. I will post that in the chat. So if you want to peruse those, feel free to do so. Yeah.
Gear 6.
Yeah, Gear 6 is on it. I mean, we knew there was going to be. I mean, Gear 6, Forza Motorsport 8. They're just sort of like known titles at this stage.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows.
Oh, Talos Principle too.
Yeah. And we'll just go into some wildly different news. So LG has announced their DirectView LED Extreme Home Cinema Set. That is a fucking mouthful and a half. So DirectView LED is the new LED technology that's coming to market. It's supposed to produce, darker blacks, brighter colors, all the good stuff. They showcased their largest model, which was 325 inches. Can be a 16:9 aspect ratio or a 32:9 aspect ratio. I'm assuming that it would use a panel setup like Samsung's The Wall, where you could just sort of change it on the fly. But it is apparently an 8K resolution and will cost a whopping $1.7 million US.
Not worth
I'll
it.
take 3. Why not? Yeah, I'll just agree with those in the house. Why not?
325. That's the entire fucking wall. So that's $2 million Australian. But yeah, that's the highest tier in their lineup. They do have other ones that go all the way down to 2K resolution.
As is like gonna go to Best One, put a deposit down.
Right. So the TVs range from 81 inches to 325. So
Kazza needs that 321 inches for Horizon 5. You just got to play it in full spec, or it's just not going to work.
I need
but you see,
I need that to watch the
it's
NASCAR playoffs.
8K. it wouldn't be that good at that
What even
size.
can you
Like
watch in 8K? Is there any?
it's pretty good pixel density. I think it's like
The
0.9
thing is, though,
pixels per inch.
is it a native 8K or is it only an upscale 8K?
Native 8K.
Because I know a lot of
Yeah,
the 4K TVs are an upscale, so they'll take
well, the
1080,
thing is,
they'll output
because
4K.
it's sort of all right. So it's direct view LED, but it's also like a mini LED setup. So they're small panels, right, that clip together, so you can create the 16 by 9 or the 32 by 9 if you so wish. So there's a set pixel density for those panels. So if you like
Right.
stood like this, a foot away from the screen, you would be able to see
Imagine if you had a friend that had
every pixel very clearly.
Imagine if you had a friend that had these
But
panels and you show up there and just like jumble them all up when they're not looking, so then they throw it on.
you could,
It's all
you could
jumbled up.
honestly, you could take one panel out of one section and swap it with another panel in another section, and it would still work just as good as it was
Yeah, because
before.
it'll work on a
Yeah,
it'll
it
be like
works
your
on
monitor's
positioning.
plugged into your PC. It'll work on a position, not so
Oh,
much.
okay. That'd be
Like
funny if
you
you could
won't
just
get-
like TV
You wouldn't
puzzle.
get, say, you named Yakes on this one, and then you moved Yakes to the top left, and then pull. It doesn't
So,
work like that. It'll just work on the picture.
The best example was in the massive mansion that's in Los Angeles. Uh, the mansion called The One. And if you don't know about the mansion called The One, where the fuck have you been?
In Australia.
There's been some massive. No, honestly, if you saw that
I've
mansion,
never heard of this. I lived in
it is
the opposite side of the
fucking
country.
mind-boggling what is in that mansion. Like, absolutely, it was. This dude spent hundreds of millions of dollars that he didn't have, by the way. That he just kept getting loans.
I mean, that's what you do in LA.
Hundreds of like hundreds of millions of dollars into this one mansion for it to be sort of like a corporate event center. So like they would hold events there and stuff like that. How it would sort of pay for itself.
That's just the LA way.
But they've in that place in the nightclub, I believe they've got the wall, which is Samsung's the wall. It's all the panels that sort of clip together, and it's spread right across the back of the bar. As it's really fucking cool how it's done, and it's probably the best example of this sort of technology. Yeah, if you haven't seen the video on the one, you need to go and see that, and just it'll blow your mind how much money this dude has spent. But downside is that dude went bankrupt. He had to
course.
default on the house, and he only sold it for like 300. No, yeah, like 300 million or something, and it was worth like 800 million. He lost a stupid amount of money on that. But anyway, that
Sounds like you're a typical LA individual.
no, it's not typical. If you saw what was in this house had
No,
its
I'm
own
talking just
cinema,
like-
it had its own bowling alley, nightclub, like
No.
50-car garage.
I'm talking just
like,
going to LA and just losing a ton of
fucking
money.
rooms upon rooms upon rooms. It was
What?
like 5 levels. It's just
Why
absolutely
can I see
huge.
Yakes now moving from Florida to LA just to go and get squatters' rights on this place and go, ha, it's mine, bitches.
Honestly, you could probably squat there with someone else and never see them.
Yeah.
You would like the place is so big.
I could probably live
You would
there
still-
and like never be seen.
like you could live there with 50 of your mates and still have it would be like having your own house for each person. It would be absolutely massive.
All right, so side note next week, coming from the one.
Fuck, I wish, eh? And just quickly to wrap everything up, a bioscience company, I believe they're based in Australia, go by the name of Colossal, insists that they can restore the woolly mammoth population back into the Arctic tundra. which is very interesting. And they have had backers for this. They've raised so far $15 million US.
I've seen Jurassic Park.
This is woolly mammoth. Okay, we're not talking about.
It starts
redeveloping
with the woolly
raptors.
mammoth.
Yeah, it starts with
I know. But they firmly believe that they have the technology to do it. Obviously, it will not be a proper woolly mammoth. It will be a hybrid because it is the only way to. You'd have to splice the genes with.
I feel like this is a
that of the
disaster
elephant.
waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Their efforts are
Wally
admirable.
elephant.
All right, their efforts are admirable. They said it's to it's part of their proposal for de-extinction and rewilding efforts. So essentially, just
How long until they start on dinosaurs?
rebalancing nature as it was by introducing these animals that did roam those areas.
Yeah, right.
So, in addition to bringing back ancient extinct species like the woolly mammoth, we'll be able to leverage our technologies to help preserve critically endangered species. That, okay, that. If there's a critically endangered species and you are able to
Okay.
clone them, let's not forget the whole
I
Dolly the
I
sheep
understand trying
saga.
to keep what's here from going away. Like I get that. But stuff that is gone is most likely gone for like some kind of reason. And
Yes,
I
and it's
just
usually us.
yeah, it's usually us. But like I'm very hesitant about bringing animals and things back from not existing because I don't know. I have a bad
Look,
feeling about that.
I'm in two worlds about it. Like, I think it's kind of cool. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
no,
woolly mammoth. It's
I
not
think it's
like a
cool.
fucking a dominant predator by any
Yeah.
means. We as humans walked side by side with woolly mammoths at some stage.
Yes.
They did only go extinct. We estimate somewhere around 4,000 years ago. So it's not like we're bringing something back from like 30 billion years ago or some shit. Like it's no, we're not going that crazy.
But what my
I don't
concern
know.
is, we start with the woolly mammoth. This is successful. Hey, what else can we
What else
bring
do
back?
do? Yeah.
Suddenly,
But we already started
velociraptors.
No, but obviously we know that velociraptors are predators and they will kill everything and anything.
That's not going to
So
stop them.
naturally,
That's not going to stop them.
I mean, we do enough damage to this planet. We don't need to bring raptors into the mix.
They're going to bring
But, like,
raptors.
No, but like,
If you're
see
telling
the
me
benefits.
that in the way America is right now, if there's an opportunity to monetize, hey, look at this dinosaur. You think they wouldn't bring the raptors in and have a
Look.
real life Jurassic Park?
I understand. I do. Okay. Look, but on.
Hey, Speed, we're good, mate. We're good. We're not on the mainland.
Yeah,
We're on an island.
you're not-
So
you're
it
over
doesn't
there.
bother us.
I mean, it's the
This
Arctic,
is an
so it's
America
the northern
problem,
hemisphere
okay?
Anyway,
This-
so
We'll be watching the North just get devoured by dinosaurs, and
Yeah.
we'll be sitting back laughing about it. It's great.
I mean, but it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing because we're now tampering in genomes.
We've been doing DNA.
But
stuff for years.
it was eventual that we were going to do it. I mean, there was Dolly the sheep. We did do cloning. I mean, the thing is, like, we draw the line at cloning, but we kind of don't draw the line at bringing a species back from extinction. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't you put them both in the same pile?
Pretty well.
But I mean, their main point of view is that they're trying to bring back. They would like to bring back species that were eradicated by us, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were the cause of that extinction. If it was natural extinction, sure.
Too bad. Deal with it.
But if we had a hand in it, like the Tasmanian tiger, for example, I mean that they only went extinct no more than 100 years ago. But we were the cause of that. We hunted them to extinction.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, like I get it, you know, but also the dangers that come with that, you know, is it going to
how's
are
it gonna
those species
interact?
going to be
Here's the
protected?
thing. Kaz's comment: Jurassic Park was an island. Yes, because the folks in Jurassic Park, the movie, were smart enough to actually do it on an island. We're not smart enough to do it on an island. They're gonna bring back velociraptors in like the middle of like Cincinnati. Okay, like that's just what's gonna happen. Like,
Um, yeah, but anyway, that's so that is most definitely going to be happening within the next decade. We probably see that happen, which is interesting to say the least. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
they're just
But,
gonna put it in a zoo
yeah.
and sell tickets to see it.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. We shouldn't do that. That should not be a priority. If we're going to bring a species back from extinction, it should not be.
That's exactly what's gonna happen, though.
But all right, so their intentions are not that way. Their intentions are to
Okay,
bring
their
back
intentions are not that
species
way
to balance
until
nature.
they are successful, and some guy goes, "Hey, I've got billions of dollars for you. Let's put one of these in my zoo."
Look,
As the old saying goes, money talks and bullshit walks. That's
Yeah, exactly.
I'm only. I can't see another Jurassic Park happening.
Oh, I can.
I think that would be a lot
I
smarter than
can.
that.
It won't be Jurassic Park. It'll be Jurassic Evolution. That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But anyway, we should probably wrap it up there.
We will. Yeah, I was just going to say we will sign off from the YouTube. Thank you to YouTube for coming by and
Thank you, YouTube.
listening to another Remnant video. But hopefully, we'll see you guys again next week. So, YouTube, stay safe and thank you once again.
Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye.